Hey everyone, welcome to a little bit of woo woo. I'm your host, Jill Thomas. Oh my God, you guys remember like 6 months ago when I told you I went to San Diego and I bought this deck at a store? And I'm like, I wonder if and I told everybody to buy it. I told everybody to buy this, you guys. I hope you did. I hope you did. So I'm like, I wonder if I emailed this person if she would come on my show. And she said yes. I'm so excited. Anyway, I am so excited to introduce Taylor Eaton, a wealth activator, love that, money and mindset manifestation expert, business mentor, and Oracle deck author. She focuses on creating tools and offers that support others in transforming their financial reality from the inside out. And I love that. Oh my God, Taylor, I love it because this is something I'm always talking about on my show. I know I do a lot of prediction videos, and you guys are getting a break from politics. We're not talking about politics today. Um, but I'm always pushing people to do entrepreneurship, and because there's such a soul aspect to it. Talk about what it is that you help people do.
So I help people transform their relationship with money is really what I do at the core. Because I realized a long time ago that so many of us we're following the prescribed path. We're following the rules, the quote unquote rules of how money works, and it's not working for most of us. Like I think it's something like 95% of people in the world are not happy with where they are financially. And after watching, I grew up with a lot of financial struggle in my home growing up, and seeing all of this, I realized I was like, I don't think that just hard work and putting your nose to the grindstone and trying hard is really all that it is, because I did that and I was at the time like six figures in debt from student loans and from trying to survive and not having enough money even with a full-time salary to have my own place away from my parents. So it was there was this realization a long time ago that the way we're taught to think about money, the way we think it works, the way we're taught to create it, it doesn't work for most people. It doesn't work for everyone. And so I kind of was like, well, let me see what else there is out there. And I quickly found the world of manifestation, law of attraction, but uh, really dove deep into mindset and energy and started to build a different relationship between myself and the way I looked at money and the way I create it. And I feel like I really cracked the code there. I had massive success, completely transformed my financial reality within my business, within just my finances. And so over the last 7 years, I've really committed myself to helping other people do the same through lots of different modalities. And I like using oracle cards. I like using mindset work, mentorship, coaching, meditation, subliminals, whatever you got that's, on the spiritual side, because I feel like when we can tap into our spiritual relationship to money and all the things tied into it, that's where we really take our power back and we can actually create the wealth we desire and in a way that feels good to us. So that's what I do is I help people redefine that relationship.
I love what you're saying. I got to tell you guys, and I haven't shared this to show you guys, but I'm hypnotherapist too. I've done this for a million years. I'm not going to say the exact number, but it's pretty close to a million, right? And I started with clients. My very first few clients started because I was a sales rep for a company, and I was making my quota was 100,000 in sales a day. I'm sorry, a month. And I would hit that number, but it didn't matter if I hit it on the 15th or the 30th, I would blow the next 10 deals so that I only ever made the 100,000. And because the real money was if I got, 100 to 120, like the commission doubled. And so that's where I'd make but I would always blow it. And after, the first month of doing that, I thought, okay, well, this is, fluke. And then 5 months into it, I'm realizing, okay, this is in my head. There's something off. And I got some help too, because there was clearly something I was doing, and I realized like it wasn't just money. It was like every aspect of my life. I was allowing things to happen in my life that weren't good for me, and it was just like everywhere. Talk about the bigger picture of manifestation and money, because I know we act like it's just money, but it's not.
No, money is so tied into so many things in our psyche and our subconscious, and it looks different for everyone, but we have so many pieces of ourselves that we've attached, whether we know it or not, to money. Things like our worth or our sense of success or our sense of how valuable we are, how good enough we are at what we do as a person, as a parent, as a partner. It's like money touches so many areas of our lives and we are so tangled up in it. And the truth is that when we look at the bigger picture of money, it's like you can't separate it out from our lives. But so many people look at it like it's in control of us. And the reality is we're in control of it. What money is it's a man-made thing. It's like it's paper, it's numbers on a screen. It's not real, but it is a representation of something that's real, which is like someone's perceived value or an exchange of services or time or energy. And when we have an understanding of what we've assigned money to mean for us, and we can consciously rewrite that connection and that definition, it's like that's where we take all of our power back. And instead of saying, for example, money is like it's the measure of success, and I don't have a lot and I'm not successful, I'm a failure. And those sorts of stories that go on often underneath the surface of our awareness, when we can look at that and go, bring conscious awareness to it and go, oh, that's actually not true. Money's just it's just this thing over here that I haven't got this skill on making in this way, or that I've told myself is this big deal, or it's going to cost me something to make it. And it's like when we can look at that relationship with it, it's like it becomes something different. This is what I think is interesting about money is it's not money itself is a man-made concept, but what it represents is so many different things and it can shapeshift. And the beauty is that when you consciously control what you define money as, that's when your whole reality gets to shift.
I love that. I get to tell you, with my little journey with it, and I promise you guys, I'm not going to make this all about me, even though the inner narcissist wants to. Like I remember, I got rid of a boyfriend because I realized like that relationship wasn't equal enough. I got rid of a car that was like had long since been dangerous to drive around, but I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to buy a new car, even if I can't afford it, because I want to be safe. That was more important to me than to just save a few coins. Talk about what your aha moment was, if there was one particular moment, or if there was like a confluence of moments. Talk about that for you.
So, I mean, I've had more realizations and breakthroughs the deeper I go down this rabbit hole than I can count. But I think for me, the big wake up was it was a really heavy wake up. Was this was probably 9 years ago now, but I was working in an office job and I had already started to delve into the money mindset realm and the money manifestation realm. And I had like doubled my salary with like a move to another company doing like less work. Like it was just, I was like, oh, this stuff works. But I was starting to see this take action. And then my father became terminally ill with a really aggressive cancer. And he was in his early 60s and he had always been healthy before that. And I had watched him though my whole life, and I was in my late 20s at this point. I watched him my whole life struggle with money. Like my family had gone through bankruptcies, but he had worked so hard my whole life. He had worked sometimes multiple jobs, and he'd worked this at the same place for decades, and they went under, and all of a sudden now they didn't have money. And I watched him at the end of his life, and I just remember looking at him and going, "I'm on the same track to end up where he is." Maybe not, hopefully not with terminal aggressive cancer, but I'm on the track that he was on of just making barely enough, of just staying in this job, hoping one day things change, and having to say no to things that I wanna do because I don't feel I have the money or the means. And I saw him pass with his dreams still inside, and I just remember looking at that and being like, this isn't what I want, and this can't be the only way. And I'm starting to see how possibly there is a different way to relate to money, where it's not just you just got to work hard and try to climb the ladder and try to, get the promotions. It's like, what if there is a different way? What if I can create more money from the inside out? What if I can break out of this, kind of traditional track that I'm on? And and what if I can create more abundance with my mind and with my energy first than with just brute force and action? And that was really the kind of the wake up moment where I was like, wow, that's what a beautiful case study, right? Of like, this is what happens when you have a really negative relationship with money, but you still do all the right things. And this is
I
where it can end you up.
I love that story, and I'm sorry about what happened to your
Yeah.
dad. I love
Thank you.
I love that, and you're right. If it was just about
Mhm,
effort, my gardener would be in here
mhm.
in the heat. In my I would be outside mowing the lawn, because my gardener works harder than anybody I know. But I don't, and I have a nicer car. Okay, um, so one of the things you just described, I love. Let's go back to that. I love what you said about he died with his dreams locked inside. That's a very powerful statement. Talk about generational wealth or generational beliefs, because I'm sure that your father followed the same path that his parents did. Work hard, nose to the grindstone, go to college, and all of that. And this is how it ended up. Talk about how these beliefs get passed down.
Oh my gosh. They get passed down. We could look at it from, like the almost epigenetic level. We can look at it through the kind of, conditioning throughout childhood and just, what we're born with. We can look at it through the energy, through, the generations and through lineage. One of the most easy ways to observe how our relationship with money is, I don't want to say predetermined, but is given to us, is taught to us by our family, is just looking at just what the stories were that you heard growing up, like around the house. What did your parents say around money? What did your caregivers say around money? What were all your friends saying about money and, and about work? And most of the time it's things like, ugh, work was terrible. They don't pay me enough. Or, like, we don't have enough money, or what if the money doesn't come in, or, money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that. Or, like there's a lot of those sorts of things. And how often are things really said around money growing up that are positive, right? Like, how often do you hear things like, "So grateful we have this money, and we have, there's always more ways money can come to us, and look at all the fun things money's allowing us to do, and look at all the things that money pays for in our everyday life, like our electric bill and our heating and our food." And it's like, we don't hear that, most people growing up, but most of us do hear, "Money doesn't grow on trees. You need time is money. You got to work hard." If people who want money are evil, people who don't have money are
Yeah,
lazy.
that's a big one. Yeah.
Like, there's so many, and some of them are so conflicting, and it's like, but so everyone has their own unique blend of money traumas and negative limiting beliefs that we all have grown up with in different ways. But it's so easy to just see, just remembering what was said in your household growing up. Like, this is how a lot of the stories were passed down. And sometimes these things we take them on and made them very real for ourselves, and we've seen evidence that supports in our own lives what our parents or what our caregivers told us growing up. But other times we've never seen that issue, and it's always just been the fear that we've carried, and we're just unknowingly carrying it, and we're like, I don't even resonate with this belief around money, but my mom did, so I still have it, and I can still see it actually affects my spending habits. And it's this interesting examination when we just look at, like, what were the things that were said around money around my
I
house.
love that too, because it's almost like you're carrying this backpack and half the shit in there isn't even yours. It's like from your
Mhm,
parents, from your family of origin. And that, I think that's one of the reasons that book, I don't know if you read it, you probably did, everybody did. The Rich Dad Poor Dad, where he's explaining
mhm.
like his biological father's financial beliefs and then his wealthy adopt not even a relative person's financial beliefs and how different they were. And I love that because I kind of had that within my own family too. My great grandfather invested a lot. And so I heard about how stocks and bonds were a great way to make some money. And then my parents were like, that's a great way to lose money. It's like going to gambling. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Decide what you want to believe, based on your experience. But that, I love that idea of this gumbo of beliefs. That's really great.
Mhm.
What would you tell people on that note? Like, how would you tell people to look at those beliefs, or how do you figure out what they are? I mean, it's like beliefs are like they create your habits, and then your habits are your daily experiences with money, and then the manifestation of it shows up. But how do you start to look at what those beliefs are? How do you figure them out?
The Honestly, it's so much self-examination. It's becoming aware of what you're thinking about money all the time. Like, because we're thinking about it a lot. Like, most people are thinking about it multiple dozens of times a day, because money touches every part of our life, for better or worse. And that's a whole other conversation to have about the structure of our society and the role money plays in it. But as reality is now, with how money functions, and how it is, like, necessary in order to eat and in order to have shelter and things like that in the Western world and most of the developed world, the the thing is to look at, where are my thoughts going around money all the time, right? Like, what are the fears when I think about money? What are the thoughts, right? Like, an exercise I loved was years and years ago when I very first started this journey. I remember just doing a brain dump of all the words of, like, how, when I thought about money, what were all the words that came to my mind? And there were things like stress, lack, excitement, you know, like just the different, and I just brain dumped and I probably had like 20 or 30 words. And then I went through and I counted how many were positive words. And I think there were like 3. And I was like,
Oh,
"Oh no, this is not good."
oh,
It's not.
I know. Gosh,
And
ouch.
so it was doing that I looked through and I was like, "Oh, okay. I need to switch to this ratio. Like this needs to be look very different very soon." Um, and it's interesting because we often don't think we're that negative around money because our whole society is so negative around money. So by comparison, we're like, I'm not that negative around money. But then you do something like that and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm very negative around money. And then you start thinking about, okay, well, why do I feel like I'm always broke? Why do I feel like I'm always living paycheck to paycheck? Why do I always feel like I can't ever get past this point of income or what? Oh, well, now look at these are my words. This is my inner relationship with money. This is my inner reality with money. This is my vibrational set point with money is these
Interesting.
words. And so if that's what's going on every time I think about money is these sorts of thoughts, of course, this is why I'm having these sorts of results over here and not a multimillionaire, right? Because it's it's interesting because you know I know we're talking a lot about mindset right now, but so much of what I do is in as energetics and in manifestation as well. But I don't think that you can really, when we talk about money again, which is something that's so interwoven into everything we do and into our psyche and our self concept, it's like we can't most of us have a very hard time untangling all that if we don't bring conscious awareness to what's going on underneath the surface. And that's where I always like to start with people is like, what are the stories we're telling around money? And then from there, it's so much easier to become aware of those and rewrite those and then change our energy and to manifest the money and to call it in these miraculous ways. But if you have an underlying program that's just constantly telling you money is the root of all evil, you're evil if you want it, you're evil if you want it, it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how vibrationally aligned you are and how high vibe you are. It doesn't matter because you still at your core do not want to be an evil person. So you will, if you think that having more money will make you evil, you'll stop yourself from making more money. Like you were seeing, like whether it was this was the underlying belief or not for you, but when you had in your old job where you were like, I'll stop right at the 100K of sales every month. I'll stop right there, even though there's way more money up here because there's probably some underlying story
Oh yeah.
that
Oh, there's a
said,
lot of
like,
stories.
that's not okay to have that next level. This is where we're comfortable. This is where we stop. And so it doesn't matter how much sometimes we're meditating or affirming or whatever. If there's a deeper, more powerful, more visceral story around money under there, and we don't know what that is and we're not aware of it, it's like it will block all the other efforts.
I love what you just said because you're right. That story, that deeper story, everything you do, like this is. I was thinking of you yesterday because I was okay, so I was at a fast food place. So I'm gonna pretend that I don't go very often. But you know, we're just gonna pretend. But clearly,
Sorry,
I've been a
my
few
daughter
times.
makes me go to my daughter's 4 and she makes me go to get French fries at McDonald's all the time, and I
Okay,
used
this
to
is
never eat at
McDonald's. Mine's,
McDonald's, but now
mine's
we eat there all
Wendy's.
the time.
Okay, mine's
Okay,
Wendy's.
yeah.
So we were at Wendy's, and I was like, my husband and I do this thing where it's like, okay, you get the fries, and I'll get the combo, and you get the side, burger. And I said, well, if I just used my 10 brain cells of high school or elementary school math to try and get one extra client session a month, just one extra session a month, I could have as many French fries as I want. And then my husband said, but this is kind of fun for you, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, he's right. I do kind of enjoy, like, okay, we'll get the combo. And then, shaving $4 off of our meal is like, it's kind of fun. But it didn't have to do with beliefs. But I loved what you were
Yeah.
saying about that underlying story. I don't know why I told you
Mhm.
guys that story.
I don't want to come out. Well, it actually made me think of something interesting, which is because I still this is the interesting thing, and this is why I love this work so much, is that because there's always more money you can call in, and there's always new levels of wealth and success. This work never ends. Like this if you want to, you can continue to go deeper and deeper into your mindset, into your energy, into your wealth journey. And something I realized, it was like beginning of this year, I knew I could tell I wasn't showing up and selling one of my higher level mentorship
Mhm.
offers. And I just wasn't selling it. And I kept meaning to, and then I'd create something new and sell that instead. And I do and I told my husband, I was like, I'm not selling it. And he's like, why aren't you selling it? And I thought about it for a little bit. And then this like truth bubbled up. And I was like, because if I actually sold it, if I actually showed up and tried to sell it, I'd sell a lot of spots. And he looked at me and he's just like, whoa. And I was like, oh no, I need to go
Oh
do
no, no, I have to
some
do
work
the
on
work.
this. I have to go do some inner work on this. I got to go
I
shift
love
some things
it.
because I was like, why am I afraid to actually sell the thing I created to sell? Because I had a couple people in it, and I was like, and I realized there were some things around of like I thought I didn't like how it was structured, And there were some parts where I was like, this is going to end up taking up too much of my time. And for me, my time is so valuable. My time freedom is something I really wanted to create when I left my day job and started my business. And so there were all these things that I had these stories around. I was like, oh, okay, well, let's just restructure the offer. And let's also just remind ourselves that time isn't money and it doesn't have to be, and boundaries. And there are a lot of little things in there that were tied in. But I was like, oh, I was avoiding selling this because I thought it was going to cost me something, which is often something we do with money in some way, shape, or form. We go, oh, if I know I could make the money, but if I did, I'd have to give up that free time. Or if I made that money, it would give up my health, because we often burn ourselves out in the pursuit of money. Or if I had it. And
Especially
so
in the healing
sometimes
arts.
yeah. So sometimes it's just rearranging those beliefs or restructuring just on a practical level. I do this with clients all the time. I have people who are very high earners come into my mentorship spaces, and sometimes a lot of the time it's the deep energy and mindset work. But sometimes once we've done that, then they're like, I still don't want to sell it. And I'm like, do you not like the way it's structured? Do you think? And they're like, what if we just tweak this? They're like, and then they go and sell a bunch of them. And it's like, sometimes it's the practical little tweak, but it's all comes back to, what's the story you're telling around it? What's your relationship with it? How are you getting in your own way? Right. And so
Well, I
that's,
love that the story you were telling, though, wasn't, I have these 20 people, or just say 20 and make up that number, 20 people out in the world who could really benefit from this additional mentorship so that they could get their dreams, which has this butterfly effect because their things possibly these were healers, and they want to make their healing technique that they learned or they created into something bigger that helps a lot of people, and then it blah, 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 it goes, and all of that was you're kind of keeping that from being part of the world by, I don't know if I want to sell this because this might take up some time. Maybe if I just tweak it. And I love the other part of what you said too, is when you had to sit down and think about, okay, what is really going on here? Like, oh, I need to tweak this, or it needs to take up less space in my life somehow. I love that.
yeah.
So what would you say, if we can go back to, like, because I know a lot of the people watching this are kind of at the beginning. They're the paycheck to paycheck. I don't know what to do. How am I going to pay for Christmas? They're talking about the 2% inflation. They're freaking out. What would you tell them? What would the first things that they would need to do?
So the first thing I think is a little bit of zooming out and just looking at like the reality of money. This is always where I start. I always like to zoom out when we're starting with a new kind of track with our money journey. And the first piece is really zooming out and looking at just, money is always circulating. It is always flowing. There's so many ways money can come to you. We are often so set, and especially because our mind likes to know how, right? Like, this is the thing. Our mind always wants to know, okay, I want the money.
How?
Let's say I want the money for Christmas. We
Yep.
are a little over 2 months away from Christmas right now at the time of this recording, right? Like, for example, how am I going to make, I need like $1,000 more dollars. I need $5,000 more dollars, whatever it is for Christmas. I do not have that. Like, how am I going to make that? I don't even make that much in my job in a month. Or like, how am I going to make this, right? Or my job, I only make X amount. I'm capped at that amount. So how would I do this? I have to get a side job. I have to get a hustle. I don't have the time, right? It's like our mind immediately goes to the how. But instead, when we can just go, okay, I want 5,000 extra dollars by Christmas, or whatever it is, 2,000. And we zoom out and we go, okay, money is circulating all the time. Remembering the nature and the flow of money. Money circulating. There are trillions of dollars in circulation just flying around. Right now, as we're speaking, like, countless transactions have happened across the world. And at any moment, money can come to you, right? In so many different ways, but we have to be open to it. This is part of our relationship with this. When we think it can only come in a certain way, like your paycheck or a bonus or a family member loaning you money. These are the only ways you can imagine. You have to kind of step outside yourself a little bit and be like, that kind of thinking has gotten me this far. Let me at least start to believe and understand that money can flow a different way. And so it's just like, first is just zooming out and being like, my favorite mantra for it is, anything can happen anytime. Anything can happen anytime, because at any time you could get a call from a friend who's like, I just won the lotto. Here's some money. I'm taking you out. Or, it's like, you could get a call. You could get an inheritance. You could get I've had so many people, this has happened to myself too. You get a letter in the mail and it's just like a check that you're like, what is this check for? I get like refunds from our pet insurance sometimes. And I'm like, this is a lot of money for refund for a pet insurance. They're like surprise refunds on taxes. I've seen people get, I've even had, like, I had an old HSA account, I guess, with my former employer. And like 2 years ago, I got a letter in the mail being like, you have a lot of money in this HSA account and this health savings account. And I was like, I don't even remember putting that money in there. I don't even know that but they're like, no, it's in your name and you need to claim it. And here, we're sending you a debit card so you can use it. And so then it was just like, okay, now like for the next year or two, all of my health related, like any like toothpaste, anything I need for health is covered. Like it's just things like that can happen. And but we don't think of that, right? And so it's like the first thing is really just expanding our mind to be like, money can flow to me in so many ways because the truth is, and this is what I truly believe, is that we are the creators of our reality. And this is where it gets into the spiritual side thing, but I believe that we're the creators of our reality. Like your thoughts and your energy are what we could talk about on a vibrational level, on a law of attraction level, but also even just like when you believe that money can come to you all the time in so many different ways and you're open to it and you're excited for it and you're in that energy, it's like you will act different. You'll make different choices. You'll give off a different
100%.
vibe. And then people might talk to
Absolutely.
you, approach you. Oh, now they have a job opportunity for you. And all you were doing was going to get some coffee at the cafe. It's like things shift so much on a logical level, but also an inexplicable level when we change the way we're viewing money. And so when you can just even just start by opening yourself up to be like, money can come to me in so many different ways. And
I
letting
love
yourself
that.
get excited for that. It's such a simple thing to do, and there's so much deeper you can go, but that's just a perfect place to start, and if we don't even believe that, then nothing else we do is gonna get you anywhere, right?
There was something you said earlier I want to go back to because I thought it was really
Mhm.
beautiful. Back to what you said with your father, his dreams locked inside of him. And I see a lot of clients with like these big dreams and these ideas, particularly around creative things. They want to write a book, they want to do blah blah blah, whatever. That they build paintings, but no, I got to sacrifice. I have to do this soul sucking office space type job. What do you think, like when you think of your dad, like what do you think his big dream was, and how, if you could go back in time and you know what would you have told him to do differently so that he could have had those dreams?
So my dad loved acting, like, when he was in college,
Really?
he
Oh,
was
love
yeah,
that.
he was in theater, he was a thespian, he, was acted in some plays, and, um, he always loved, like, he loved theater, he loved cinema, like, he liked movies, he was always interested in the directing and the direction style, when I was really young, I think he was, like, coloring videos. He worked on, like, coloring, like, Casablanca, like, when they did the color
Wow.
version of it, something like, he did so he was involved in, the film industry to a degree, um, and he really enjoyed that, and I remember when I was probably in high school, like, I was a teenager, and one of his friends was putting on Shakespeare in the Park at a different part. We lived in Southern California at the time, but it was, like, Northern California or something, and they invited him to come and play a character in one of the plays, and it was, like, a bigger role, and, I remember him being like, "I can't take off time from work
Oh,
because we were living paycheck to paycheck, my family
yep.
had been through multiple bankruptcies." He's like, "I have to continue working, I can't." He and my mom were discussing it, and he kinda just this discussion that was just kinda happening, and we were all just kind of around for it, and it wasn't, like, a big serious thing, but he was like, "I don't think I can do it, I don't think," and it was just that, and I even remember at the time I was a teenager, and I was like, "You should do it, you should go. What a cool opportunity." And he ended up not doing it, and I never saw him act in anything, but I know that that was one of his passions, and, he didn't get to do that, and I think if I could go back and tell him, I'd be like, "This life is so short, and you're not you know, what you're doing isn't gonna get you to the money you want, and so do something else, even if even if it's another bankruptcy, at least you'll
Yeah.
live fully." Because I saw him not live fully, and that broke my
Wow.
heart, and it still breaks my heart, and that was a big reason why I started my business because it was for me. It
Hmm.
was for my future family, my now daughter and my husband, but it was also for the rest of the world. I was like, "I don't think anyone should die with their dreams in them because of money." It was like, "Let's take our power back around this," and so that's what I tell my dad is, "Don't give your power away, don't give your dreams away to money," right? And so I think there was a lot of worth tied up in it for him. I think, there's a lot of like, if I don't provide for my family, I'm a failure. I think there was a lot of also the feeling of like, what if I'm not good at this? And so then I've gone to pursue something that I'm not good at, and now we're financially worse off. And it all is just like me being a failure all around. And I think I also wish I could tell him it's okay to fail, right? Like it's
I
okay
love that.
to
Well,
fail.
so to you guys watching, how many of you have some kind of dream like that that you're sitting there going, no, I have to go and be on the hamster wheel because that's what I'm supposed to do. 'Cause that's what we're supposed to do. What are you not pursuing? What is your soul screaming at you to do that you're just not, you're not doing because, oh my God, it's going to cost some money. I don't know if I can. I mean, I'd be good. All the stories, right? All the stories that Tyler's talking about. I have a theory, and tell me what you think because I'm happy to be wrong. So there's a high school there's a private high school near the high school I went to, and I had a client who went there, and she was talking to me about the economic stuff that she learned in her high school as opposed to the stuff I learned in my high school. So my high school, we learned about, I'm a little older than her, but we learned about, compounding interest, right? And she went to a private high school and lots of rich kids because it was expensive, not terribly far from me, same community. But one of her high school projects was that she had to start a business. Like every person in the class had to start a business. Whether they kept it or not, they had to go through the process. And I thought about that later. I'm like, these rich kids learn not to be afraid of starting a business. And I learned about saving money and compounding interest, which to an 18-year-old means exactly shit, right? Because I'm not going to think about that years from now. But she learned not to be afraid to go to and get a business license and do all of that. What do you think on that? Do you think I'm onto something? Like these rich kids are learning different things.
I do think you're onto something. I do think there's two different things that come up. First of all, I do think that yes, people who are around money, who grow up with more money, have a very different relationship with it. You have to. You have to have a different relationship with money in order to, the parents, the people who are raising them who have more money, they have a different relationship with that money than the people who don't have that money. Like that's because they're living the realities. You have to have a different relationship with money in order to have a different reality with it. And so they're going to learn different things. They also will probably learn their own limitations, their own blocks. I've had very wealthy clients who are like, I am afraid to spend any of my money because it's like the old family money. And it's like, you don't touch the money and you don't spend it on these things. And it's very, like more subdued. And then there's the people who are like, I have a lot of money and I keep blowing it. But I keep making more. I can always make more, but I can't get ahead of it. And it's just like, but then, so it's like, no matter where you are, there's always some work to do unless you've finally, done the work. And then you're like, oh, now I'm here. But so yes, people who grow up in a community or in families or in a school system that has a lot more money flowing through it are going to learn different things. And I also do think that because I went to public school, I had great public school education, and I don't remember learning anything about money. Like maybe they taught us some things, like maybe balancing a checkbook back in
Yes,
the
the
day. Like, but I'm
checkbook.
like, I didn't learn anything about money. And I remember I've told so many people this when I started my business, because my business is over 7 years old now. And when I started my business 7 years ago, let me be clear, in school, I was a straight A student. I went to great universities. I had amazing GPAs. Like I was a top student when I got into the workforce, when I was working in publishing. And when I was working in publishing full time, I was getting promoted faster than anyone else, but it was still not enough money to live off of because the publishing industry where I
I
was
know
not
a little
paying
bit
well.
about that. Yes.
And so, it was like no matter what I did, it was like so I was doing everything right. But I was like, this isn't working for me. I'm going to try something different. Started on my mindset journey. And then I was like, I'm going to start a business. I'm not going to live like my dad did. I'm going to break from that track. I don't want to be employed. I'm never going to get there. I can see what the track is with the earning potential here. It's not what I want. And so when I started a business, I told my now husband, we were dating at the time. And I've told people since, I felt like I had to build myself a new brain to become an entrepreneur because I had been taught again to be that straight A student who was like, let me just memorize everything, find the right way to do it. What's the percent? Let me just learn it, study it, and then I'll get the A, I'll get the marks, I'll get the job. And that's not what happens with entrepreneurship, but that's where I'm not saying that that's the only way to make more money, but it is a way to make a lot more money is by building a business if that's something that you're passionate about.
I love what you're
And
saying too,
yeah.
because like building a business means
Mhm.
you get to be the one to fire you. I was fired so many times because my attitude renders me unemployable. That's my theory. But like I love what you're saying about entrepreneurship, and there's a power in that. And if you've got a passion, you don't have to give up one. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. You can have your day job where you're getting a paycheck, which is what I did. I loved my job.
That's what I did. Yeah.
I enjoyed that, but I also enjoyed my little side hustle of
Mhm.
helping people with other things in the evening, and it was fun.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
but I had to build a completely different brain. Like it
I
really felt
love
like
the
that.
way,
I had to
yeah.
think differently. I had to no longer be trying to find the right way, but find the way that worked for me. I had to no longer be trying to find how to make money, but instead how to create something of value. And those are very different questions that you have to ask yourself of how do I get this job versus how do I build something new? How do I create something that people want? What do people want? What's going to actually help people? What is going to be worth it for them to pay for? Right? Like, and even just how do I deliver this? What are my skills? What are my skills that are best going to be of most value to the world? Like, asking those sorts of questions and then trying to put it all together and learn how to sell and learn how to, in my own way, all in a way that was right for me, because I would learn other people's tactics who were in business and they wouldn't work for me and they felt terrible. And so a lot of what I mentor people on within the business side of my business is like I mentor entrepreneurs on how do you find the right aligned way for you, the way that's energetically, mentally, but also strategically aligned, because entrepreneurship is there's not just one right way. There's the way that honors your unique gifts, it honors your unique skills, it honors your unique lived wisdom and what you bring to the table, and it builds something around that or with that. And for me, I was just trying to find the right way to do it to make money at first. And then I
I
was like, I have to look at this very different, and I had to completely rewire my brain. It's
I
so
love
to
the
answer your earlier
mindset.
question, it's
Sorry.
very different. Sorry, yeah, it's a very different way of looking at like the world, and I do think that that can create a lot more wealth as well, but we're not taught that in most schools.
I see. I love what you're saying. I'm just jumping in because I'm so
Yeah,
passionate about
no,
that
sorry,
particular
yeah.
part of it, because the wiring of the brain. Like, I know when I went from being an employee to having a business, that I looked at everything within the even having a job differently. I saw the fact that my boss worked every Christmas and I didn't. I saw the fact that I got a bonus and he didn't. But then when he sold it, he made a shit ton of money and other people were very resentful. Oh my God, he made millions. But I'm like, he did a lot more work than you did, even though we would grumble and say he didn't, but he took chances. He took chances and
Yeah,
I didn't. And I can see what you're saying about, and I love the other thing that you said, Tyler, is that it's Taylor, isn't it? Am I been
yeah,
saying it wrong this
yeah.
whole time? I'm so sorry.
I
My
didn't notice.
best friend
You're
growing up was
fine.
Tyler. I kept saying, okay, I'm trying to call you Tyler. Um, I love what you're saying about the problem that you were trying to solve. Like, you're helping people solve a problem and your business solves a problem. How do I deliver that message of improving the lives of people in a way that they can understand it, or that it resonates and that works well for you and for them as well. Um, Speaking of your message, well, first of all, I'm gonna show them the deck because I love it. I told everybody to buy this deck, but I love that these cards are round. I
Yeah.
love, they're so pretty. The pictures are gorgeous. The card deck is round. You guys, if you do nothing else, just go to her YouTube channel, which is amazing, and buy this deck on Amazon. I think I bought it. Actually, I bought it at a metaphysical bookshop in Encinitas,
Mhm,
California, which you guys should all
mhm.
go to. Um, Support small businesses. I love that. Talk to us about what you do or what your offerings are, how you help people.
So I help people at all levels with, I like to call it with embracing the new money paradigm, which is creating wealth and success from the inside out. That's what I do. And so I have different ways I do this. Like you said, on my YouTube channel, there's a lot of free tarot readings, things like that, that really help you. Like it blends all my wisdom of my mindset, my
And it's
entrepreneurial
free, you
wisdom, but
guys.
also,
It's free.
yeah, those are free. But tons of readings they're not like predictions, they're activations. It's like this is what you need to hear to activate this. And I do channel and um but those are very powerful, and there's subliminals there for rewiring your mindset as well. But from there, it's I do have my Oracle decks. That's the one you found was the Cosmic Wealth Codes deck, which was the round cards were a choice that my publisher was like, "What if we did round cards?" I was like,
I
"Yeah,
love
let's do
it.
round cards."
I love it.
But I also have those are great for affirmations if you want to have affirmations to pull to rewire yourself with if you like to do those. I also have my Wealthy Woman Oracle deck, which is more of an actual
Yeah, those are pretty.
square
I see
deck.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, and, those are available as well. All of this will be on tayloreaton.com. You can find all these things listed
It'll
there.
be in the show notes
But
too, you guys.
yeah, perfect. But from these were the first like physical things that I created. And there's accompanying journals that go guided journals with both the decks that are all just to help you get on this journey. If I had to recommend one for someone starting out, it would be the Wealthy Woman Oracle deck and the Way of the Wealthy Woman journal that accompanies it, because that is like a full on, it's like a mini book. There's many chapters, but it introduces so many of these principles and ways of looking at money and prompts to help you dig into these beliefs and see what's going on underneath the surface and rewire things. And so many practices in there to help you move through that. And from there, I have so many offerings online, but my big ones are my Wealth Vibe membership, which is low cost. It's $25 a month, but that's the place to get yourself in the energy of abundance, to be saturated. We have monthly challenges, daily mini card readings from me around money. We have a whole community of hundreds of people. We have a book club. We have like monthly calls with me. There's just so many things in there that are so powerful. And I designed that space because I found that on the internet, there are not a lot of places, just like in real life, where money is talked about in a positive aspect, where it can be easy for us to get into the energy of abundance, of overflow, rather than the energy of scarcity. And so I wanted to create a space where it's like everything we do in here, not only are modalities and things that we work with to help you rewire your mind, but also it's an area where you can just come and be around other people, that it's off of social media. It's on its own membership site. I did that intentionally because I was like, I don't want all the money stuff on
No, I
social
loved
media,
it.
but
Yeah, I love that part of
um,
it.
having that membership just is such, like, so many people say it's such a sacred space, it's an oasis for them, where it's like instead of scrolling social media, they plug into the membership, and the changes they see in their relationship with money, the way they feel about it, and then their reality starts to shift. It's just so powerful. And so the Wealth by membership is a great place to be. And then
I
yeah,
did it, you
there you go.
guys. I don't well, you did I tell you
Yeah.
that
Uh-huh.
I'm in your Wealth Vibe thing?
Uh-huh.
I did it
Yeah.
because it was like there was some offering. I think one point you were just like, "I'm gonna offer it for $7." And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
"Well, for $7, I could try it just to see
Yeah.
if it resonated." But I know it's totally worth the
Uh-huh.
25, you guys. I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
But what I loved about it is that that every day you do this little mini money reading, and it's like 3 minutes long, you guys.
Mhm.
And it's on a separate channel. It's not part of YouTube. So it's private. It really is
Mhm.
actually private, and
Yeah.
and the comments really are actually private because I'm not
And I
so sure that
actually and I actually get to engage with people
yeah.
in there, which is because I'm in there most days, and, like, when I like, the people when they comment on the mini money readings, it's like because it's not my whole big audience on YouTube, it's a much smaller community, it's like I get to actually engage and comment, and sometimes there's questions that we get to answer in the community space, and so it's a little bit more of a intimate energy
Well,
around
I
the
love that
readings.
it's like every day. I just it's
Mhm.
I every day I just like 3 minutes. I just watch the little, and it's always really resonates, and it just puts me in the right mindset of like, oh, you
Mhm.
know what I do helps people, and this is I'm going to help share this with the world in my own way, and it's a nice, and it's not that expensive, you guys, and I love it. I personally love it. Just telling. I'm saying you guys should join it, but this isn't sponsored, you guys. She just agreed to be on the show. That's all she agreed to. Anything else? Like, I'm going to put all of your contact information in the notes, and you guys absolutely, if nothing else you do, get on her YouTube channel because her little videos are beautiful. God, you've got such great lighting. I'm so jealous of that.
Thank you.
Like, I love the little. I'm gonna ask you off camera what one of those little her stones. One of her stones is just so gorgeous.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna need to find out what it is anyway.
Crystals, I will let you
Oh
know.
my god, one of the crystals. Watch these. It just shifts your mindset. I think you post at least once a week, sometimes more.
Usually once or twice, a week, is usually what we do over there, and
No
it's like the
politics.
videos that they're no, but I
No
will
pol-
say I do that's not entirely I do occasionally post something that does share my political beliefs, and it usually people get very triggered because they like, "I just want the spiritual stuff," and it's like, "Well, but in the state of America as it is right now, sometimes we need to talk about things that aren't." I always say everything is spiritual, including the human experience that we
Love
are
that.
experiencing. And
Love
so
that. Love it.
sometimes but no, the readings themselves, not political, though I love your political I love that you go there because most people in the spiritual community don't, and I think that's sometimes an issue. And so yeah, but the readings there really are meant like the whole reason I started doing readings, it was again, it's not to predict your financial future because I don't think anyone can. I think I can read potential timelines for you, but again, you're the creator of your reality. And so at any point you can pivot, at any point you can change your mindset, your energy, and get on a different track and be headed toward a different, financial reality. And so my idea with the readings is always to help you activate and align with a wealthier timeline, one that's more empowered, one that and giving you along in those readings, I often give you the mindsets of like, here, try this mantra, or adopt this mindset. Here's this reminder so that you rewire these beliefs and actually align with this timeline, align with more money, more success, the opportunities, all that. And so I love it because I feel like it's a place where I get to speak about money in the empowering way that is now so natural for me that I really wish was the default for most of the world. So,
I love that too, that it comes from the place of, I watched my dad die with his dreams in his
mhm,
heart and not fulfill it. And now, I don't want that for anyone else. And I love that sort of altruistic approach. But also you're getting to do something that you're genuinely passionate about, that's genuinely fun for you. And it's just so powerful. So thank you for that. I love that. Any final messages? Anything I didn't think to ask that you think is important to share?
Oh, I think the only thing that really comes to mind is just understanding that right now, what's happening in the world, and at least where money is concerned, but also where politics are concerned, is that we're seeing the end of an old paradigm. We're seeing, and I think, and money's tied in with
100%.
that. It's all interconnected with what's happening politically, with what's happening, financially, with the economy, with inflation, with everything. It's like it's all tied into an old paradigm of, like we can look at it from the patriarchal lens, we can look at it through the lens of just like late stage capitalism. Like there's a lot of ways we can look at it, but it's all tied together, and it's the death throes of it. It's like a new paradigm is emerging from this. It's been here for a while, but it's taking more and more root, and we're seeing this in the way that people, and what people want socially, structurally in our society. We're seeing this in, the rise of more equality, of more feminism, of more of the divine feminine. It's like there is a new paradigm emerging, not just with money, but with everything. And I think sometimes it can feel the darkest because this is, like the last ditch efforts. And it's not that we won't see this old paradigm of work hard and hustle for money and, money being this very masculine driven thing. It's not that that's just going to end overnight, but it's on its way out. But these are the death throes of it, is what it keeps coming through. And so, um, a new paradigm is emerging, and that's why, this paradigm, when I say the new money paradigm, it's really a paradigm that is about, like, understanding that it's your energy first and action second, and that's what creates not just money, but everything you desire. And that's how it's always been, but it's our societal paradigm that's emerging around that, of being like, you see more and more people, I'm not gonna do things that make me unhappy for work. I'm gonna start we see more and more people starting businesses. We see more people doing more hustle or like gigs instead of a full-time job, because they're like, well, it gives me more freedom. It's like we see more of this in the younger generations, and it's because there's a new paradigm emerging. And so it's really just understanding that where we are right now is the intersection of those two things. And it's still going to be rocky for a while, but you get to weather that when you remember that your relationship, your connection to your power, your connection to your thoughts, to your energy, is what creates everything that happens outside of you and your existence. And so you have so much power over not just your money, but everything. So
Well, so I
remembering that.
love in what you're saying. I'm not gonna try and
Mhm.
put words in your
Yeah.
mouth, but I'm totally gonna do that right here. I love that it's like you're talking about what's coming out and you're helping people shift
Mhm.
into the new, the next,
Mhm.
and working on your money beliefs is gonna be part of for each of you individually listening. This is what I'm
Mhm.
hearing and what you're saying.
Yes. Yes.
Is gonna be a big part of getting ahead of it and shifting before the shift has actually already happened in the bigger, broader world. Does that sound about right?
I would even say that it's what will create the shift,
Oh, yeah,
because
ooh, I like
I
that
truly
better.
believe, yeah, I
I
truly believe that the
like that
more,
better.
because we're already seeing it, but the more people on an individual level who understand that wealth and anything in the material world is created from the inside out. It's created with your relationship with it on a mental and energetic level first, and then it's created externally. It's like the more people who understand that and feel empowered around that and know how to play in that new paradigm, the more that paradigm comes about, because the our paradigms in our society are brought about by the people.
The tipping
And
point.
so,
The tipping point.
yeah,
I
and
love
so the
that.
more,
I love
and
that.
that's really like what I know I'm here to do, is to activate that new paradigm and help people understand and play in that new paradigm more and more, so that we tip those scales, right? Like, so that the old paradigm, there's less and less people playing in that old paradigm of you have to work hard and got to hustle and sacrifice and all that toxic, like overdoing it energy around money that we know doesn't work for people,
Yep.
and letting that go, and instead saying, let's find more of this aligned place. Let's find more balance. Let's find more personal power that we then create from. So that's what I feel like my purpose is here to do, is to help usher that in by helping activate that in more individuals. And so
Love that.
that's where I feel like we are.
What a beautiful
Yeah.
message. Thank you so much for playing
Yes.
and telling us all of this stuff. And thank you so much for doing what you do, because I think it's so super important. I preach this stuff all the time and I'm like, oh, I got an expert now to talk about it on the mental level. And thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, because everybody needs to see this message. And if you like it, it's going to go further. I didn't say any of the words that get me shadow banned this time. So woohoo! Maybe everyone will watch this video. I love this. Thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate it, and thank you so much, Taylor, for playing in this and sharing what you share. It's amazing, and I love you guys. And I'll see you again soon. Thanks so much. Bye. Bye, Taylor.